Yo, this is Mike with Comic Lore. We are back in it, and today we're picking up with Death Spiral number 5. And in this episode, Carnage, Torment, they team up and they start beating the brakes off the Spider team. And so, what this does is this opens up with the reveal from the last episode, where we found out that Carnage had taken complete control over Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock was basically asleep and malnourished inside of Carnage because he hasn't been killing. And Spider-Man is thinking to himself, okay, we just fell right into a trap that Carnage has laid out for us that we didn't even know what was going on. And as this is happening, you have Carnage and Torment, and they're pretty much just taunting at Venom, Mary Jane, and at Peter Parker, Spider Man, and letting them know that Eddie Brock is asleep. There's nothing that you can do here. You guys are pretty much screwed. And Torment is basically thanking Carnage, and he's like, you know what? You had my curiosity, but now you got my attention, right? He's letting him know that there could be a potential grouping up that's going to happen here between Carnage and Torment because we know that that was Carnage is looking for. He's looking for someone who's strong enough to control him, but who will also feed into its bloodlust. As this is going on, Spider-Man starts to play back and put the pieces together and how big the story really goes. And he's thinking to himself, first Carnage is name is written above the Shocker's head when he's killed. Eddie Brock's dad is killed. And we have all these deaths that are occurring. And at the time, I was wondering, what does Eddie Brock have to do with this? What does Mary Jane have to do with this? But now he's starting to see holistically that it's not about any single member that's here. It's about all of them together. And if they don't stop Torment now, then not only are they in danger, everyone they know and love is in danger. And it's only going to start to affect people closer and closer to them as Torment starts to close in those spirals. So as this is happening, Venom and Carnage are going back and forth and fighting, and Carnage is going full out trying to hurt Venom, but Venom doesn't want to hurt Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock has been a long time host of Venom. And so Carnage is basically taunting him, letting him know, you're playing it easy. You have changed what our family is known for because Venom wasn't always this anti hero slash hero that we know him as today. He started off as a villain to Spider Man. He was one of Spider Man's most famous members of his rogues gallery, and that's where he spun off into becoming more of an anti-hero and more of just now he's basically just a full-time hero now. But Carnage is saying that changed from where we first started. We first started wreaking havoc, and now you want to switch up and join the side of the heroes. And as this is happening, Spider-Man, he's going toe to toe with Torment, and he's doing his best to fight off Torment, but things from Carnage are still coming and getting in the way of his fight. And he's reaching out to Venom and Mary Jane, like, hey, do I need to go up there and give you guys some help? I thought we were going to split this up, run a two-man. You got this guy, I got that guy, but I'm still getting attacked and I'm still dealing with issues coming from the Venom side, sorry, the Carnage side, and Venom, you should be taking care of this. And Venom is retorting that Carnage isn't really playing fair. He's out here playing to kill. But Carnage lets him know, like, hey, you have anti Carnage tech. And I'm over here just doing what I always do, which is giving people the business, trying to kill them. And as this is going on, Spider Man's like, we got to get through to Eddie Brock. We need to wake him up. Mary Jane's having none of it. She's like, listen, I'm talking to the both of you right now. I don't really care about Eddie Brock right now. I will kill them both if I have to, if that means keeping our family safe. Maybe not kill, but she's not concerned that she could hurt Eddie Brock in the midst of this fight. And as this is going on, Carnage is again going and talking to Torment and trying to broker a deal and let him know, like, hey, we're both sadistic criminals. We like hurting people. We like killing people. Together, we could be a great team. So instead of me being stuck with this guy with a conscience who won't really let me loose, I know together with you, we'll be able to make this work. And Torment tells him, we're taking Venom. We want Venom. And he starts to shoot off the electric sound blast from the Shocker's wrist collars and starts to separate Mary Jane from Venom. As this is happening, Peter comes in, he flies up and he saves Mary Jane because he wants to make sure that she's okay. He loves him some Mary Jane. And as they're having this kind of like defeat, right? Mary Jane is on the ground. Spider Man is being held back by the sonic blast coming from the Shocker's gauntlets. And it looks like Carnage and Torment that they pretty much have this fight locked up. And Torment is telling him there's going to be some rules if we're going to bond together, and I'm going to be allow you to be with me, and I'll be the host of your symbiote. And Carnage is like, every good relationship has to have some healthy boundaries. So hit me. And Torment tells him the spiral has to always be honored and that discretion is key, you know. And you look back at the previous start of this whole run, we didn't see Torment go out and actively taking people out in the beginning. In the beginning, it was a lot of accidents and kind of final destination like endings to other people who were on the outside part of the spiral. And we saw him get his hands dirty more as he's closing in and getting closer and closer. And he tells Carnage the pain must drown out the scream until silence. And even Carnage is like, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean, but I do know that it sounds like we're going to be hurting people. So I'm in. I get it. Let's do this. And as that's happening, he hears, I completely understand. You sick. Enter your favorite curse word here. And Torment's like, what? Why are you talking to me like that? I thought we had this nice thing going on. And we realized that Eddie Brock has now awoken and he has now regained control over the Carnage symbiote. And he gets um, Torment, hems him up against the wall, throws him, and he tells him, like, I hated my father. I did not like that man, but he did not deserve to go out like that. And just like I said in the previous video, even when you have issues with your family, it's like I can talk crap about my family, I can hate on my family, but you can't. You're an outsider. And most people kind of live by those rules. Family business is family business. But if an outsider comes in, that kind of changes the whole math. And as this happens, Torment's like, you know what? The spirals, they're going to be closed. And when that happens, we'll speak more. And he takes off and flies away. Eddie Brock is pissed. He re has gained consciousness. He wants to go after him. But Venom and Spidey, they're not letting him go. They're like, no, you are not going to go anywhere until you tell us everything. Fun as that was, we're now walking into another ambush. I'll fix the tracker you wrecked. Upon betrayal, you spill the beans. What is going on? And Eddie tries to speak up, but they're like, we're not talking to you, Eddie. We need to know what Carnage knows. And before we get deep into that, we have this quick little 2-page intermission where we have Miles Morales and he's talking with Norman Osborn, and he's inside Norman Osborn's penthouse, and Norman Osborn is working out, and he's like, you know, when we were fighting last, you saved me. You could have been callous and let me die, but you saved me. And furthermore, you also, I think, are a better mentor and leader of the next generation of spider people or the spider lineage than Peter Parker is. He might be a great hero, but he's not really a great teacher. And Miles is like, well, everyone kind of sees me as not their Spider Man, not a real Spider Man. And that kind of mirrors some of the flack that initially Miles Morales faced. But I think now the greater comic community, we really respect and love Miles Morales as he's kind of come into his own and isn't just seen as kind of a way to shake up Spider-Man for the sake of shaking up Spider-Man, if that makes sense. And pretty much Norman Osborn is trying to convince Miles Morales to work with him because he wants to train Miles Morales and all of his little spider friends to be able to survive against him. And so, Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, sometimes Hobgoblin, sometimes Spider-Man, right? I don't understand the machinations and the plans he has set, but they don't give us much here. So hopefully in later issues, we can kind of see where this goes. But what this does do is it takes us back to Carnage, and he is starting to explain what happened and how he kind of hooked up and connected with Torment. And he's joking at first, like, we met on Void Chat because even though I like Eddie, the connection really isn't there. Because when I really want to do what I want to do, and anytime I go and I kill somebody, he gets this look on his face, this ick about it that really doesn't sit well with me. And, he doesn't really engage with the murder and destruction in a way that I like. So I would rather have a more fitting host. But I found that beautiful hunk of passion out there with the body count that would make Ed Gain blush, who was a infamous serial killer in real life America. And he says, but no one buys the cow without a test drive, right? We're ready for the next stage of our relationship, a new family, after we turn you and yours into sticky puddles. So basically, he is letting everyone know that he's using all of them just to see how strong Torment is. And his plan is to kill all of them and to then join with Torment and create destruction everywhere. And as this is happening, Eddie's like, I can do this. I can keep him under wraps. I have him under control. And Mary Jane is like, you do not have anything under control. Our families are in danger. People have been killed. And multiple cycles now know who we are, all because of you, Eddie Brock. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? What could I have done? And Mary Jane's like, I can think of a few painful ideas. Basically, you could have just died. You could have just let yourself go or even tried to take yourself out because you know that Carnage is unstable, and is a danger not just to us, but to literally everyone in New York. He just shouldn't be around, given Mary Jane's thought process. And as this is happening, Spider Man chimes in and says, I think I fixed the tracker, but until that reboots, I'm not 100% sure. So while we're waiting and chatting, and definitely not screaming internally, Carnage tell us where Torment's going next. No editorial, no finger pointing, just the facts. And Carnage is like, he's crazy. Why do crazy people do anything crazy people do? And why do you expect me to know where he's going next? I don't have that intel. He's just going to go crazy. And Eddie chimes in and says, the spiral, he starts wide and works his way in toward the center through the family of the primary victim. He's like, Eddie, no, oh my God. He's like, we'll fix this. I'm going to fix it. And Carnage says, I love a family reunion with small, buddy parts of the family. And at this point, everyone starts piecing together the people who they know are closest to them and who Torment may be going after. And Peter Parker is thinking like, okay, Aunt May, got to get to Aunt May, got to make sure she's okay. Mary Jane wants to make sure Anna's okay. And as they're having this discussion going back and forth, they're kind of debating, should we continue to work alongside Eddie Brock because he showed that he could lose control of Carnage. And if it happens once, it could happen again, and it could happen in a more inopportune time. And Spider says, as much as I hate this, but Venom is right. Eddie, we need your support. We need you to help us. Can you control it at least long enough until we can take out Torment? And, Mary Jane is not really pleased, but she really has no choice in the matter because, like it or not, they really do need Carnage to be able to take out Torment because he is very formidable. And if you go against him one on one, more than likely you're going to get beat. And so Mary Jane is like, you know what? I've trusted him so many times and he keeps breaking it. But basically, you guys are going to do what you're going to do anyway. And she says, I got some backup. I'm going to make sure that the people I care about aren't unprotected. And as that happens, what we do is we see Flash as the Anti Venom agent. He's in his gear. He's coming down shooting, kind of looking like a color swap Deadpool, not going to lie. Really, but I do like the costume he has. And he comes into where the symbiote is, and he's like, hey, I'm done. Give me the deets. Sorry, deets is gross. So he was on another mission, but Mary Jane knows that she can count on Flash to help keep people safe because he's shown that he has grown a lot, not just as a fighter, but also as a person in general. And Spider-Man is like, whoa, you have Flash on speed dial? That's kind of weird. And Mary Jane tells him we have a symbiote group chat too. I'll send you a link. It's like, no, you idiot. That's not true, right? And so, because Spider-Man took her seriously, like, no, I'm just giving you the same medicine you give to everyone else, pretty much. And she says, Anna and May both know Flash. He's strong and a sweet talker to old ladies. Why are you being weird? And so what we notice is that Peter is being weird because everyone can sense a connection starting to blossom between Mary Jane and Flash. And even Venom says your pheromones, they're starting to increase. And so Peter just kind of just bites the bullet and goes straight and direct with Mary Jane and says, if this is happening, which she continually denies, he says, I understand. I get it. Flash, he's really has come a long way. And so I trust that, you know, he may be good for you, basically. Kind of giving the okay for their relationship without actually fully saying it. And Mary Jane is still kind of in denial. But we saw when they were walking in the park in a previous issue that there is a connection growing between Flash and between Mary Jane. And what happens next is that Spider-Man says, "Hey, didn't you say Anna is in Queens?" Because Mary Jane was thinking of sending Flash to go to Anna while they went to go to make sure that Aunt May was okay. And as they're asking that, Venom and Mary Jane reply like, "Yes, why?" And then Spider-Man says, "Then why would Venom be heading to your place?" And he's talking to Eddie Brock. And Eddie's like, "Oh my God, I know who the next victim is." Because as I said previously, Spider-Man was worried about Aunt May. Mary Jane's worried about Anna. But who's more important, who's left for Eddie Brock besides his son, Dylan? And what this does is it transitions to Eddie Brock's house, and Dylan is playing Marvel Rivals, and he's talking with Paul. And as they're playing the game, Paul's trying to connect with him and be kind and like, but at this point, Dylan really doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about his dad. He doesn't have that kind of a close relationship with Paul, and he kind of thinks that he's kind of a not a parasite, but for lack of a better term, he's trying so hard to be the good guy because he wants to be accepted. And when he's pushing so much for that, it makes Dylan like him even less. And he's like, "You have pretend kids. If you want to play pretend dad, oh, wait, they're dead because you suck. Don't talk to me about my father." And he's like, "I'm sorry, Dylan. And again, Dylan is just ripping into him. "I hate that you simp around like Mr. Tryhard Topknot, hoping people are going to like you when everyone knows you're an interdimensional bleep who never got his stuff together. But I don't care about you enough to hate you. I don't care about you at all," right? And as he's saying this, he opens the door, and who is standing there? None other than Torment, Shocker's gauntlets ablaze right in Dylan's face. And he says, "Dylan Brock, son of Anne Wang, the Venom symbiote, and Eddie Brock, you have your father's eyes. I want to see if you have his heart." So Torment is locking in, going after Dylan next. You know the next issue is going to be a banger. Keep in, tap in with comic lore. Sorry for being slow in the uploads these last couple of weeks. I had family visiting, and you only got one time on it served. So I'm going to spend it with the people I love. And hopefully, that's you guys with some more comics coming up. So tap in, like, and subscribe. Catch you later. Peace.